Courtroom War Podcast. I'm your host, Andre Jacobs. And with us today is Loren Calhoun out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. You know, at the Courtroom War Podcast, we talk about all the things that are uncomfortable and that a lot of people don't want to talk about. The small, quiet areas that go on in the back of a person's mind or at the bottom of a person's heart. And this is definitely somebody that I believe could bring that type of energy and bring that type of focus. So, I'm gonna let him introduce himself and let you know what he bringing, how he coming.
Yeah, this Loren Calhoun, Loren, like Loren Hill. Some people always get it confused, Lawrence Warren, but it's Loren Calhoun in Pittsburgh, North Side. Came from a decent background, decent background. Mom and dad both in the household. Had an older brother who was in the streets. I like to mimic and follow behind. And I had a very imperious dad. Imperious, people who don't know, is commanding, very commanding, very on top of you, disciplinary type of pops. And being naturally warrior hearted and, bucking the system type and being aggressive myself, that always kept me being in the streets because my pops wasn't with it. So I would run away, a lot of alcohol at home, physical abuse. So I never really was, scared of confrontation or scared of consequences. I understood consequences young. You do something, you're going to get you issue for it. You're going to get disciplined. And, so that was something that I grasped, a grasp of life that I got early.
Let me ask you something. Let me just stop you right there. You spoke about, first of all, how old are you?
I'm 38. I'll be 38 next week.
Oh, all right. So yeah, you right there, early 80 baby. You know what I'm saying?
Yep, 83.
Yeah. So when you speak about abuse in the household, I just wanted to ask you, like, do you think that there was a connection between the abuse that you experienced and how you lived your life in the streets?
Yeah, definitely.
In other words, just to be more direct, my question is, do you think that experiencing abuse in your household made you violent?
Yeah, that's what it. Ultimately, when I look back on everything and reflect, hindsight 2020, when I reflect on everything and I see now, like, damn, like I was getting it way worse than 90 to 95% of the people that was around me. People hated my dad for the way he did me. You know what I mean? But in all actuality, I know for a fact it breeded contempt, it breeded frustration, it breeded anger, you know what I mean? Violent. I was a violent young dude. I always wanted to fight, always willing to fight. You know what I mean? Not scared of that type of, confrontation, because my dad was a big dude, and, we got chastised. We didn't get belts. You know what I mean? We got extension cords, and my dad was a plumber. We did plumbing and heating, so we got plumbing supplies. You know what I mean? We got all different types. So me being scared of another man in the streets or in a jail cell or something like that wasn't even the case, because I had already experienced, so much pain.
And my mom was actually telling us, don't you like back down from somebody just because they bigger, or just because, you see what I'm saying? Like, you think like you could beat anybody. Like, that's what our mom was telling us.
Yeah, see, that's how my pops was. My pops was similar to that. My pops was similar to that. Like I said, imperious. Just a tyrant of the house. He ruled with an iron fist, and that definitely spilled over to just the alcoholism, abusing drugs, and then it got to the point where, being as though my pops he taught us how to be entrepreneurs and be independent all in the same time. All in the same time when all this was going on, he was he was constructing our minds for us to be independent and for us not to need for, you know what I mean? So when I went out into the streets, because I would run away from home because I wasn't trying to get beat. I cut up in school and I'm like, I'm not even going home. You know, catch me when he catch me. I see my dad shaking like we playing football and shit, like he tried it, you know what I mean? So it became that same type of survival instinct, whether it was genealogically or something that I had just met. I mean, had accustomed through living in a household like that. I became self-sufficient in the streets. I became, you know, I was cool with all the, you know, crackheads and, you know, junkies and all of that. And then the older cats who was doing their thing, you know, always, you know, kind of respected me and saw how I handled myself. And I was pretty diverse too, because I came from first originally like Wilson, Perrysville, you know what I mean? Like the ain't a project, but it's the slums. Like as you get the same things you get there as you would get in any project or anything like that. But then I moved to Brighton Heights, which was a little bit mixed. You know what I mean? Had a mixed crowd, white, black. We was like probably some of the first black families up there when things first start getting to where it was, when we start learning that about the drug trade and stuff like that. So saying that, I was able to tap into different avenues and different areas that most cats my age or from my type of background wasn't tapping into. You know what I mean? And although it was back and forth from the house, once I turned 16, I got shot. And that was it. You know, mom and dad was pretty much like, what we done, you know, this stuff coming too close to the household, you know, and from 16 till I maxed out from prison at 30, I had never lived at home from 16 years old.
So let me cut you off real quick. You had spoke about getting shot, and I feel like, you know, our community, you know, that's been normalized, you know, but yeah, you know, on a real level, on a deeper level, like you really been face to face with death.
Yeah.
So I mean, talk to me about that. What was that like?
It was something, to be completely honest, I wasn't ready for it. I thought I was, because death is real. And I had already lost a couple homies, you know what I mean, to gun violence, you know. And although in my mind, part of my mind, I was ready for the action, you know what I mean? But in the back of my mind, I realized how real these consequences was. And I don't know if it was through my upbringing, but then some people around me didn't have that same consciousness or that same, you know, whatever the case may be. But what that did, it breeded me for the next level of being in the streets. You know, it just like was like another badge, another stripe in so many words, you know. But
what does that mean? Explain what that means. Like, you know, for the listeners that, you know, hear these terms and don't know what they mean, or for the listeners who want to understand it of this culture and why somebody at the age of 16 would say that, you know, that there was any type of benefit to being shot.
Yeah. Stripe basically saying that a stripe is like if you in school, it's high honor roll. You know, you made honor roll last year, now you got high honor roll. You know, or if you in a job, you done got a raise basically, or you done got promoted to another position. You know what I mean? Because now you're now the streets is able to see and you got shot. You ain't telling nobody. You trying to handle it in the streets like it's supposed to be handled. No cops, no courtroom, you know, no courtroom war, no pun intended. But that's how, you know, some of it end up going. But like, you know, and that right there, I believe was a point in my life where I realized that I was never going to get shot again. I was never going to let nobody shoot me again. After that, I start carrying a gun with me everywhere. always had a gun. And no matter what the situation, where it was at, with kids, with family, uh, and that's just what that breeded. It breeded, because like you said, death is that's what it was. I was looking death down the barrel because at one point in time, dude had he had the gun to my head at one point.
What was your street life like?
I was more or less, now that I got older and really realized I wasn't a gangster I was just a criminal. I was criminal minded, criminal activities. I mean, I was doing anything that made money. Basically, I was more money oriented. I had 5 kids at 22. So 21 going on 22, I had 5 kids. So I was always more geared towards making money in the streets. Like I was a hustler. You know what I mean? I was a get money dude. I was always somebody's plug, and I was always somebody's go-to dude that they dealt with, you know what I mean? Fiend or a snap, somebody that I was always on deck. Like that was my criminal life. My criminal life was drugs. Street life was just drugs and money, man. Drugs, money, for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was always in the drug trade pretty heavy. I was always someone the older cats could trust with a front. I'm gonna make their money back. I'm gonna come through. I'm gonna make sure y'all got y'all's. I'm gonna make mine, and I ain't gonna be getting fronted too long. You know what I mean? Like that type of, young buck who was on a thing. You know what I mean? On the grind, Jaguar, young, Rolex, young, before I was even, 21, like riding and shit like that. That was my lifestyle for on the streets.
Mm-hmm. So, like, how, when in retrospect, how meaningful was it for you living that life?
What it ultimately did was thwart the progress that I'm trying to make now, the lifestyle that I've, switched over to. You know what I mean?
Feel like you feel like you far behind.
Yeah, I started behind an 8 ball for sure.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I feel like, man, when I realized that I wanted to live a good life, I realized how unprepared and ill-equipped I was to live this life.
Right.
I saw how, the type of skills that I lacked.
Right.
The basics that I was never taught.
Right.
But I'm more speaking like, try to give people an understanding of the feeling that you had and the mindset that you had about your life, about other people's lives, and about your future during that time frame.
Yeah, in that time frame, my thought process was literally I would go to jail. I was willing to go to jail and do any amount of time without taking nobody with me, without not being a rat was one of my main things. And I was always willing to go to jail and do my time, no matter how much time it was. That's my thought process. Was like that. I'll go to 30, 40 life. I don't care. Like literally, I'm making this decision I'm making. The thought process I had for people, I was constantly scheming. I was like, I had so much game. I was just constantly, because I wasn't just on the north side of Pittsburgh. Dudes know me from Pittsburgh to Newcastle, Beaver Falls, Buffalo, Detroit. I was out in all of these areas selling, selling drugs, and to any of the, junkies or whatever. I didn't care. I sold, obviously not proud of it. Pregnant mothers, knowing that, people was giving their last. Just my mindset was literally woke up, thought about money all day long. And it's crazy because I really after all of that, I really ain't got nothing to show for it. You know what I mean? After all of that, because it was all coming in a perverse way. I never got anything from it, but I think that's a good thing because that would have breeded a whole different ego, a whole different monster, a whole different man whole different man if I would have become successful in that. You know what I mean? But that was
if you felt like you was being rewarded for doing wrong, you would have kept doing wrong.
Yeah, I think it would have. Well, really, I just woke up to what was really going on. I woke up to, I realized that there were certain images that were being perpetuated to me for me to imitate this type of life. Anything that you give energy to, you're going to breathe. You know what I mean? And being as though I started to give energy towards this because I wasn't just automatically who I was. You know what I mean? I gave energy to it and got good at it. I gave energy to it and became this person. You understand what I'm saying? Like, and that's what I realized when I was like 28, 29, 30. You know what I mean? I realized that. But that's just what it was. I was giving energy to it. And even if I don't think it was so much as that I would have been rewarded, I would have kept, I was still willing to keep going at it if I would have never got just woke up or enlightened, I believe, for what was going on. I felt like I was being naturally warrior hearted. I felt like I was being attacked mentally. You feel what I'm saying? Like once I realized that I was being attacked mentally before I could even get to any physical, is when I realized I had to change everything else because my mental was attacked first, which was causing me to react the way that I was and not understand that I'm, thwarting progress.
Mm-hmm. So when did you actually get trapped into the system?
First time I went to jail, I was 12 years old. My mom and dad didn't know really too much about the legal system or anything like that. I stole a car, me and a couple of friends. Went to juvie, came home, did some more stuff. 14 years old, went to placement, came home. That's when I got trialed as an adult at 16. Act 33 me, ended up beating a case. Was for armed robbery, stick up, aggravated assault. And then from there, I mean, from 12 years old on, I just was it was a constant cycle because, I mean, the people I met while I was in there, like because we were all still really innocent young kids for real, like we still was, like a lot of us was still trying to find our ways. I made friends in there who had similar backgrounds or who wasn't really such bad kids, but we all still was in the streets, all still doing these, these criminal acts, just criminals, like, you know what I mean? And everybody I met throughout my history, because I kept getting put into these places, was criminals. You know what I mean? Like these criminal juveniles. Like, and then when I got out, I stayed in contact. These was my friends and continued on with, our networking, basically.
Mm-hmm. So when you use the word friends, like what's the difference between the friends you had then and the friends you have now?
The friends I had then, some of them are still there. They just understand my position. I've always been a leader. I never been scared to say, look, I ain't with that, or I ain't doing this, or I ain't, whatever the case may be. So they still friends to a certain extent, because our past is real. There's never been nothing that ever damaged that past, or it's just that I'm seeing things a little different. I don't walk the same walk. You know what I mean? The people that I gravitate towards now are people who's goal oriented, who could push me in some type of way, anything positive, I'm just trying to be, just from being around so much negativity, violence, not like, that's the last thing I want to be around. The last thing I want to do is have to punch somebody in the face or brandish a gun on somebody, or, you feel what I'm saying? So I that is so far from the lifestyle I live. Not to mention I got 11 kids, 2 grandbabies now. You know what I mean? Like, so I got 9 daughters and 2 sons. So like I try to stay around positive people and people, who could use my services and I could use theirs. I try to render services to people with, I do plumbing and heat. I'm in the plumbing and heating field. I'm a master plumber. And so I try to stay around people who's going, obviously keep me in business, keep me out of jail, you know what I mean? And not feed to that dark side.
When did you first do like hard time?
First time I did hard time, I was fighting. I did a home invasion, 18. I fought the case for 20 months. I beat it. I came right home. That's when I went to prison. I went to prison at 22. I did 6.5 years straight. I came home for about 4 or 5 months, and I went right back, and I maxed out 2.5 years. And I've been home since 2014. So I did 9 years altogether, straight, with the, like I said, with the exception of those couple of months that was sprinkled in.
So what was that experience like, just during time?
It was so many different things wrapped in one. It was traumatic. It was, it was scary. For my first day in jail, I saw a dude get stabbed in his face about 17 or 20 feet from me. That was it was a wild experience. I experienced my civil rights stripped from me. Constant. I mean, I was tased, shot with pepper ball guns, maced, jumped on by COs, put in the suicide chair, whatever that chair is. I was in there for 18 hours at one point. They put me in there for 18 hours, and while I was in there, they had a spit bag over my head, and they came in, sprayed the stuff underneath the mask, and then put the mask back on, pulled it even tighter. I was on Christmas Eve. That was Christmas Eve of 2003. I thought I was going to die, honestly. Like, that's what that experience in jail, like, it's just been so many different things. But I distinctively remember that day that I was going to die. I thought I was. Truth. I thought I was going to die in that jail. Yep. That's when I was fighting that home invasion case. COs had gotten to it with us back in the hole. A lot of cats that was in the hole. We wasn't allowing population into the jail. They was keeping us in the hole, and me and a few other cats, and man, they was just doing us real dirty back there, and it was more or less. I mean, it's like I said, there's so many different emotions that there were so many different experiences jail was, you know what I mean? But then again, it was real camaraderie too. I found real camaraderie in that, you know what I mean? With a lot of good cats, you know what I mean? A lot of warrior hearted dudes, a lot of dudes who was able to give me experiences that touched me. Like, for instance, yourself, like with meeting you, opened up another level of another level of thinking and decision making in my brain. When I had met you, came back into the hole, even though, like I said, I had already heard about you. I came back into the hole. I had heard about you through my man Duck, and came back into the hole. I had got paroled. I was already paroled. I was waiting for the county jail to come get me, and I got into an altercation with my cellie. Ended up knocking dude out and getting sent to the hole. And I remember you was grinding me up like, yeah, you wasn't ready to go home anyway, man. If your decision making skills is still so poor, you know what I mean? You got poor decision making skills because, ain't no way nobody gonna be able to take my freedom from me like that. You know what I mean? And it was you and Drizzy from Homewood. Mm-hmm. And y'all both, and me and Dre, he was one of my walkies. So, both of y'all was both next door to me. So I got, like I said, certain people was able to unlock a certain another level of consciousness, if not, or enlightenment, like, you know what I mean? Like, and if I wouldn't have went to the hall, I would have never got certain, there was certain books that you had gave me, certain stuff that, jail, that's what jail did for me. Like, it just, the certain things I was able to read and was able to unlock something in there, man, that, was never going to have me making them type of decisions again and stuff like, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. But all blessings in disguise. You know what I mean? All blessings in disguise. I hated the fact that I had to, I ended up doing another year and a half after that. They kept giving me hits at the parole board. Did another year and a half extra behind that one fight. And that's what helped me to start working on my decision making after that. Because if I'd have went out into the world and the mindset I had, it could have been an altercation, could have ended up turning different. I could still be in there right now, just about trying to leave, or maybe not ever leaving, or even worse, I could be something different. Could be, RIP. You know what I mean? But my decision making, that me staying, I know for a fact it helped the way I started to make decisions and change my decision making. Even now till this day, certain phone calls or stuff that I'll get and I'll understand or know, like, I could go down this road and it's going to be the end of it right here. This would be, detrimental to everything I got planned, all of these goals.
So what was the fight over?
He's an older dude, New York, some of them dudes like big city personality. You know what I mean? They have that big city, like somehow, how some Philly dudes, some New York cats just got that big city personality where, I'm from Pittsburgh and like he just kept trying to downplay. I was real polite always. And he had every day I would ask him, like, so I read and I worked out a lot, and I read a lot. Like, hey man, you mind plugging in your headphones for me? Plugging in your headphone every day. I would ask him that. But one day he's like, man, I'm not plugging in he knew I was on my way out the door. So I think he and it's like, I'm not plugging my headphones in.
Let me just stop you right there though. Do you think that he really thought that, or was that just your disposition?
I think, honestly, he really thought that, because I think that he thought, because there was already certain times where I almost went there and I tried to move out, but they had me on L block because I was under investigation. You know what I mean? So they had me on this block with this cat. I'm like, I'm trying to move, but I couldn't move because I was already under investigation. You feel what I'm saying? So whenever, I hopped down off the bunk and I'm like, what you mean you ain't turning the TV off? And I'm like, what you like, come on, just plug your headphones in. And he hopped up. And it just, that if you recall how small those cells was in Dallas, like,
I recall.
He was a big boy, I mean, we just got it in. We just, you know what I mean? Just got it in. And then he CO happened to be doing his rounds and he was out cold. When CO came to do his round, he was laid out, snoring, was over. Yeah. Yep. But that was the beginning of me really, really looking deeper into moves I made after I got back there with you and Dre and was able to, like, and y'all got to hit me in the head with so much, all them different books, all the different, you know what I mean, convos, necessary conversations, and seeing how you was battling and going through everything you was going through too. Like, it was necessary. It's necessary for this now.
So tell me, like, what is this now? Like, where you at in life now?
Man, it's crazy to say. I'm pretty much content with no longer dipping into the street life, no longer dipping into that, that habitual for that being my main source. Right now I'm more or less on trying to get this plumbing and heating situation together myself. Was taught this plumbing and heating from my father since I was a youngin'. I want to take over his business with my little brother at some point. You know what I mean? He ain't ready to step down, my pops. I'm into the real estate right now. Process of flipping my first house. I got some land where I'm trying to construct, something on. As soon as I get to flipping this house, taking that money, putting that straight to that, build something from the ground up. And while I'm doing all of that, I'm trying to get into like some type of a nonprofit or some type of, I mean, not even a nonprofit right now. I'm just doing it with my nephews, people who I know, like that I, you know, females, single with single moms with kids and that, or you know, some of my homies who got sons and that. Like I'm trying to show them this trade. I'm trying to show them that you could do something else out here other than being influenced by these streets and still make good money and still make, you know, good money and feel good about it. You know what I mean? Like when I remember my dad used to make us go to work, you know what I mean? Because we were so bad or whatever the case may be. We cut up in school, we ain't going outside, we going to work. But I remember hating it, but I remember feeling good about accomplishing it after everything had, you know, after we finished the fruits of our labor. Like there's that feeling. I believe if kids who never had that feeling experience that feeling, get that feeling of accomplishment, get that feeling of doing something and seeing it done and feeling like you did this, you accomplished this, that a person ain't going to want to go, you know, one of these, you know, ain't going to want to go into the streets and want to, you know, sell drugs to their cousins or they neighbors, or you feel what I'm saying, be part of the problem, like, you know what I mean? And that would be worth it'll be worth a lot to me if I could change a couple, you know, change some people's lives, man, change some kids, change their stories from going to, I mean, because I don't think, man, all of, you know, this I would never want to see nobody have to go through that. You know what I mean? All of that is just, you know, not knowing, heartache, you know, relationships that was, I had to bury my grandmother and grandfather when I was in jail and couldn't beat her to support the family or beat her to show support to them. You know what I mean? Which is a regret. Children I didn't get to see, you know what I mean? A great grow up, raise up, you know what I mean? Like, shouldn't nobody have to go through that, you know what I mean? And have to, you know, maced, tased, jumped on back guards, feces and, you know, piss through on you and all, you know what I mean? It's the humiliation of getting stripped down and hunger at night. People, you know, just, you never know, man, you know, anything can happen. And I believe with these kids being able to see something different, man, that they could, you know, life could be different, especially if they see somebody who was actually out there doing this type of stuff, who was actually involved, who actually know what it gets you, been in them jails, tased, made, you know what I mean, and went through all of these different hardships, like, you know, because they're you know, there's children who will learn from other people's mistakes, you know, and won't have to go through that, you know what I mean? So that's basically where I'm at right now. Is just being a working man, being a father, you know, still trying to be the best son I could be, you know what I mean? Because I realize how much heartache and pain I done put on, you know, my mom, Dukes, my pops, like, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, like, they tried as hard as they could with the best knowledge they could to do for me, you know what I mean? So now I'm trying to show them, like, look, it's the son I am. This is who y'all raised. Like, y'all ain't raised this disappointment. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm trying to be to my kids as well. Like, it's a disappointment constantly in jail and, you know, collect phone calls and trying to discipline from the phone and, you know, and all of that. Like, so that's where I'm at right now. And in a nutshell, you know what I mean? Pretty much.
But I mean, what I'm hearing, I heard a lot of different things, but what I'm hearing and what I heard that, you know, was most valuable to me is that basically, you know, you're a man in service to others. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Like, you're in service to, you know, your parents, you're in service to your kids, you're in service to your lady, you're in service to your community, you're in service to people in need, because of what you've been through arms you with the insight and the experiences to give and redirect. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I feel like anybody that been through the type of stuff that we've been through has that obligation.
Right. Yeah. Obligatory.
You know what I'm saying? And if you know, to me, I feel like if a person has that information and has those experiences and those insights and doesn't pass them along, that's a selfish person.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? That's a person mostly concerned with themselves, other than, rather than being in service to the people.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I love seeing, what became of you, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I remember, when you had came back there, I knew you was different though. I knew you was different from the first time we talked. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And just with Duck, you know what I mean, being connected to Duck and all of that.
Right.
And I'm just glad, man, that I be always glad when I see men that really, really come from that life, make that change.
Right.
Because
Absolutely.
I know how hard it is. Like, people don't understand how hard it is. It's easy to go back and do the same stuff we was doing. It's easy. It's the easiest thing in the world.
And the hardest thing not to fall victim to.
You know what I'm saying? That's why the recidivism rate is the way it is. It's easy to go out and do the same thing you was doing before, but it's hard to make that change. It's hard to start thinking different. You know what I'm saying?
True.
And I mean, I commend you on that, man. I commend you. I salute you, and I honor you. You know what I'm saying? For making that change and not taking the easy way out.
That's vice versa, man. That's reciprocated. Like I said, man, I was inspired. You've always been an inspiration, even in there. You know what I mean? You made that time and that decision bearable for me when I was back there in the hole going through. You know what I mean? So, it's reciprocated, the honor, the respect, the whole nine. Truth.
I appreciate it, man. Well, all I can say, man, keep doing what you're doing, man. Keep pushing that word out. I wanted to have you on the podcast because I know you authenticated, you know what I'm saying? And you know what I mean? And that whole narrative is an important story that all kids should hear, all kids should know. If they want to, do something what they like you said, if they get different information, then they're going to get different results.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? That's just how it is. We got to expose them to that information, like you said, not when they get in jail,
right,
or after they get out of jail. Right. We got to give them the information and arm them with the ability to make the right decisions so that they don't never go to jail.
Right. Truth.
You know what I'm saying? Right. So, I mean, I appreciate you, coming on the podcast, being a guest.
Having me,
definitely, put this word out. You know what I mean? Hopefully, it hit the places it need to hit. And people, people send it to where it need to go. Share it. You know what I mean? Comment on it. Comment on the page. On Apple Podcasts, and just keep doing the work that we do, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Much love and respect.
Yep, my mom.